Hello, everybody, and welcome back to At Your Own Pace. This is the show for runners who are showing up however they can on whatever week life is handing them. I'm Mike. Mike runs marathons, and whether you're chasing a Boston qualifier, your first 5K, or just the next mile, you're in the right place. Every Wednesday, we open up with a little real talk from my week on the run. Then we sit down with someone whose story is going to leave you a little bit more fired up than when you press play. So lace up, settle in, and let's run this one together. My guest today is a woman named Keane. She is probably one of the most inspirational people I've ever met. I got in contact with her actually through one of my other guests, Christina, which if you haven't listened to her episode yet, it is definitely worth checking out. But Anne is someone who has not suffered, but thrived with stage 4 breast cancer for the last 10 years. She has lived a life far beyond what she expected. And the beautiful thing is she discovered marathons, and she is someone who has thrived with breast cancer for the last 10 years. She says thrive because she doesn't want something like this to define her and hold her back from living a life that she wants to live. And we had such a great conversation going back and forth, talking about her story, about how she got to where she is today, and how she's run 2 marathons, the Tokyo and Chicago marathons, pretty recently, and her goal to run all of the World Marathon Majors if she can. And one thing that really stuck out with me was the fact that she talked about planning things in the future. And she told me that the fact that she's able to do that whilst having stage 4 breast cancer is something that speaks testament to her will to live and her perseverance and resilience to push forward and chase those dreams that she has. And if you check out her art, which is at AD Jewelry on Instagram, you will find just amazing pieces that she has designed herself, and something that she uses as an outlet and something that she just genuinely loves to do. She's also run for Dana-Farber for cancer research, and it's just phenomenal to see her chase her goals, chase her dreams, and frankly, not let cancer hold her back, define her, or make her feel like she has to live a certain life or act a certain way. And definitely inspired me, and we connected on several pieces of our stories together. But before we get started with Anne's story, I want to start where we always start, which is with a check-in. So here's what's been on my mind this week. I've been, and I'll be perfectly honest with all of you, exhausted. I've truly begun marathon training for the Chicago Marathon and the New York City Marathon and the Philadelphia Marathon for the end of the year. And it has been, and I'm happy because the past 2 weeks have gone really well. I feel like I've gotten my stride back and that I'm really back in marathon mode. But I've neglected to remember that I not only have my marathon training work, but I also have my dad life now, and I have the content that I create for all of you, the podcast, the videos, the posts about my runs, my stories, and it can feel like a lot at times. And there have been days actually this week where I've fallen asleep like 9, 10 o'clock at night. And I tell myself that I should be exercising or I should be doing something else, but I'm just too tired to do it. And it's not going to stop me though from doing what I love, which is creating the content that I want for you, showcasing different products that I love and that I genuinely use in my everyday life, interviewing runners for this podcast, which is probably one of my favorite things about being a content creator, and trying to inspire new runners and runners thinking about getting started with their running journeys, and hopefully experienced runners who might need a little bit of extra motivation to get out there and hit the trail, hit the pavement, run their best race. Because I genuinely feel like I have found my calling in my life. I'm 38 years old and I've struggled a lot with trying to find out who I am. And I put on a lot of different hats, and it's been something that I've been trying to find for so long. And when I discovered running, I did not expect it to turn into something like this. And what I expected it to do was just essentially be an outlet for me to go out and exercise, clear my mind, get a little bit healthier, lose some weight, help my heart with my high blood pressure. And that was kind of it. I wasn't interested initially in the social aspect or trying to run a marathon. I just wanted to get healthier. But as time has gone on, the past 2 years have been life-changing for me. I have felt like there has been a door that has been opened in my mind that has shown me that this is my calling. Supporting all of you, creating content for runners and coaching, speaking with runners to understand and learn their stories and get them out there for other people. I feel like this is what I'm meant to do. And yes, I know this will potentially not replace my 9 to 5 job, but this is it for me. Like this is what I want to do consistently for all of you. And it gives me happiness. It gives me meaning in a way that I never saw before. I've worked primarily in my professional life in public service. I've started my professional career right out of college as a high school history teacher. I worked for government for New York City. I worked for a number of nonprofits. And even the work I do now, even though it's with a private company, it deals with the public sector. So I still feel like I'm on that trajectory. And that's what I felt like was going to give me a sense of purpose. But I've learned now that your job potentially is your job. No, I don't want to talk about that. But I found that there's something else that gives me even a greater feeling of accomplishment and just genuine happiness. And that is running and speaking about it on social media. So even though I'm exhausted, I still push through because at the end of the day, that exhaustion might be there, but so is the happiness. And so is the gratitude that I have for all of you who watch and listen to my videos, to my podcast, who reach out to me about coaching, who have questions about running that need support. Like that is incredible. And I'm just so grateful and happy that I get to do this and have the capabilities to do this. And even more grateful that you follow me just in general, because I started this account just kind of throwing things at the wall, hoping that someone would listen to me talking about inclusivity in running, to talking about how trans runners need to be safe, female runners need to be safe, minority runners need to feel safe, people who live in areas that are potentially not necessarily a great area for running need to feel safe. And I have found a community of people that I genuinely did not think that I was going to find. So I know that this whole check-in was me initially starting with talking about exhaustion and feeling like it was going to lead to something bad. But the more I think about it, the more I realize that it's a good exhaustion. It's not something that makes me feel sad at the end of the day. It's kind of like a fulfillment exhaustion. I've done my best and that makes me happy. Now, every day doesn't feel like I've fulfilled a lot, but I still feel happy. But that's my week. And I really thank you for listening to this portion of the podcast. I know that this is the first season where I've decided to start talking about me. And uh, if it makes me really happy that you're interested in who I am and my life, how I'm feeling, what's going on in my week. And, the only word that I can just use, and I've used it multiple times so far, is just gratitude. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But I don't want to waste any more time. You know the drill. Grab some water, find your stride, and meet me in the conversation because I cannot wait for you to hear Ant's story because not it was just a fantastic conversation that we had, and I really think you're going to enjoy it. So without further ado, let's get into the interview. Some people decide to run a marathon, and there are some people that decide to keep running marathons while doing one of the most hardest things a person can do. My guest today is the second kind of person. Her name is Keane, and her bio reads like a list of things to fall in love with. Jewelry designer, Ruby's mom, thriving with stage 4 breast cancer. She's a Peloton rider, and she's chasing the 6th World Marathon Majors for the Dana-Farber Marathon Challenge. I want you to read that again. I want you to hear that again. Not read. Thriving. Not surviving. Not battling. Thriving. Dan's based just right outside of Boston. She designs jewelry through her brand, Flock Boston, which is the kind of work that takes a steady hand and an artist's heart. She is a mom to a daughter she loves out loud. And on top of all of that, she has chosen to spend her miles running from one of the most important cancer research institutions in the world, the place that is part of her own story. She's the kind of person the show is built for, and the runner who reminds you that the miles are never just about the miles. So let me welcome in Anne. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate it.
Of course. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I mean, I'm sweating here in Boston. So outside of that, otherwise doing great.
I feel you on that. Yeah, it's so hot in the Northeast. I don't know where this came from. It's pouring earlier today, and then it just decided to become incredibly hot. And I made the mistake of trying to go for a run. So I died halfway through and needed to get an Uber to come back. Man. But speaking of that, how's your training going? Is there anything you're training for?
Right now, I am on the cusp of starting my training for Berlin. So I'm kind of in the down cycle. I ran Tokyo in March. And so have just kind of doing some maintenance work, doing my clamshells and all those middle, little tiny muscle work to get me nice and stable and ready to log some extra miles.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I completely hear you on that. The clamshells, the hip bridges, all that stuff. It's so important for your training. How did you get into Berlin? Are you running with Dana-Farber?
I am running with Dana-Farber. I'm actually really proud to say that I got a bib through them, and this is actually, I'm trying to run all of the majors with that team. So, yeah.
That is incredible. Incredible. I love that. I love charity runners. I've run after I'm doing New York again for the sixth time this year, but I get in every year through their 9+1 program. So I don't have to like apply or anything, but I
Mm,
decided that I wanted to do it with the charity. So after New York this year, I'll have run every single World Marathon Major with at least one charity. So I'm really happy about that. I love charity runners. I think, in my opinion, that they are more important than the qualifiers and more important than the people that get in through the lottery, even though they're very lucky. I think that the charity runners, with what they raise money for and how difficult it is to raise money, are like a beast within themselves and on a whole different class of runner. Because when you raise money, especially for these marathons now, as they keep raising the minimum amount, it's like a second job. And it's
really is.
so stressful to do. And it also gets a little like frustrating to keep asking the same, well, frustrating for the other people when you keep asking them for money.
Mm,
So
yes.
I give every single charity runner major kudos for what they do, because it's difficult, but the outcomes are just indescribable because of who you help, what you do, the services that you're able to provide, what have you. It's an incredible thing. And it makes me really happy that we have charity runners within each of these World Marathon Majors.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it
But I
it
wanted to
it means
start,
a lot. It means a lot.
I know you're a charity runner with Dana-Farber, and you've run several of the World Marathon Majors with them, and you're trying to achieve that 6-star goal. But I want to go back before the 6-star journey, before Dana-Farber's team. What did running look to you? What did running look like to you in your life? Like, when did it start? Why did it start? And what got you to begin that journey?
That's a great question. So I was actually never a runner. I really wasn't. When I was in college, I actually was lucky enough. I swam and played water polo for the University of Massachusetts. In fact, the cross training for swimming was actually running, but because I played water polo, I got out of it. And I was like so happily to be logging, so happy to be logging more time in the pool than I was outside running. But when I started really running was during the pandemic. I think a lot of people went out and made sourdough bread, and that was not the case for me. I needed to get out, and picked up running with a neighbor of mine who happens to be the mother of my daughter's, one of my daughter's best friends. And so we started logging a couple miles here and there just really to get out of the house. And after putting a little bit more miles, logging a few more here and there, we started kicking around the idea of maybe we should run a marathon together. So that's kind of how it started.
Amazing. So you started with the pandemic. How did you go from just running a few miles to saying I want to run a marathon? That's a massive jump right there.
Yeah, well, she actually had run a couple marathons before. And I think, just being, wanting to have some type of goal, I always had thought about running Boston, but I was just a little bit too nervous. And again, I was never really a runner, but it was something that, if you live in Boston, you know about the Boston Marathon. And so it was more of just something like, maybe we should we do that? No, maybe, I don't know, kind of one of those kind of conversations. And then, I started to have some more questions that I was asking her about it. And I'm like, I think I can do this. I actually think I can do this. So I think it was just through more conversations and whatnot. And then, it eventually went to having conversations with my oncologist about it. So yeah. And physically, is that something that I could even do?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
So you jumped in with the Boston Marathon. You said, I want to do that because it is the Boston Marathon. It's the marathon that is in my town, and it's one of the,
Hmm.
it is probably the most well-known marathon in the world.
Mm.
And so that's the one that you started with.
Yes.
Wow,
Yes.
what's funny is that was the last marathon for me in my 6-star journey. I knew that was
Really?
going to be the most difficult one for me because I was going to have to do a charity, and that was
Mm.
going to require a lot of money to raise. So I was like, let me get the rest of them out of the way. And then I went to Boston. And ironically, I have now run Boston for the last 3 years. So even, yeah. So even though I did it with the charity to finish the first time, I got offered to run with Shocks in 2024 or 2025. And then in 2026, I actually qualified. So
That's
like,
fantastic.
yeah, it was like unlike anything that I ever thought would ever happen in my life. So, but jumping in head first wanting to say, can we do this? I think we can do this. Just let's just try to do this. I think it's such a marathon runner thing to do, because I don't think any sane person really wakes up one day and says, you know what, I'm going to run a marathon. I think the vast majority of us go, can I do this? I don't know. Let me sign up for this and see what happens. Let's see if I can get to the finish line. I feel like
Right.
that's just like
can I even get in? If I get in, then I'll figure it out kind of approach.
Exactly. And it's funny with the charity, because if you get in, your first thought before that is, yeah, let's see if I get in. And then after you get in, you go, how am I going to raise this money?
100%, right? Like, oh my gosh, this is a big check I'm going to have to write if I don't make this happen.
My God, exactly. You sign your life away. Now, so you decide that you want to run the Boston Marathon during COVID. Was there anything else that was going on during that time that kind of like accelerated that want or that need to jump headfirst into this marathon?
So I would say, you know, I was actually diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer back in 2016. So I had definitely something else going on. And that was the fact that I was living with stage 4 breast cancer. I was diagnosed in 2016 with what's called de novo, meaning that I was stage 4 at the onset, meaning that it already had spread to my spread beyond my breast and was in my lungs, my liver, my bones, etc. And in the early phase of my diagnosis, I really struggled to even get out of bed. It was a lot, physically, emotionally, and there was a lot of side effects. I was taking a lot of medication to help my digestive system and other things. And slowly over time, I started to kind of reclaim my body. Being a college athlete and whatnot, I felt I needed to get back in working out. I needed to get back to moving and feeling better. And luckily, I was able to drop one of the medications as a result of the kind of the timeline that I was in. And in dropping that medication, I started to feel better. So we ended up getting a Peloton bike, and I became an avid Peloton user. And then over time, the pandemic hits, and now it's like, I got to get out of my house. It's not just enough to be riding the Peloton in the basement. And so that in the process of that kind of journey, I started to pick up the running with my friend. And so naturally, when you start to entertain ideas about these significant physical activities, I have to go and talk to my oncologist about it. And with the breast cancer in my bones, I was genuinely concerned, like physically, is this something that I should be even doing?
Mm-hmm.
And my oncologist said, yes, you can go do these things. And I'm pretty sure she put a little note in the Dana-Farber inbox about a girl who might want to run this marathon, and maybe take a look at her application with a different set of eyes.
That is such an incredible story. I mean, to be able to start from where you were. And I mean, I'm glad you went the smart way of asking to make sure that this was something you can do, because I know that so many people don't. And then there ends up being massive issues that come about because of that. But so and I agree with you with the getting out of the house thing, because when COVID hit, so I was a runner, but I was going through massive shin splints. So like every step was like agony when I would try to run. So I bought a folding bike, and I lived in New York City at the time, and I literally rode like the entire island of Manhattan, Brooklyn, parts of Queens. Like I was all over the city with it. And I don't think I have ever ridden a bike more in my life than when I got that.
Yeah.
I did end up getting a Peloton bike at the end of 2020. What's your Peloton leaderboard name?
It's AD Jewelry.
Okay. Same as your Instagram name.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay. So it'll be easy for people to come and find you. I'll follow you after we do the recording.
Awesome.
I actually manage a Peloton group on Facebook called the Positive Peloton Group. I'm not sure if you've heard
no
of
way.
it, but
I haven't.
Yeah,
I'm going to have to look this up.
Yeah, we have about 80,000 members. Started it as like a one-off against Peloton's really toxic original Facebook group.
Yeah.
And somehow people started recommending it and it exploded. And so now it's where it's at now. and I am still very shocked by it. But I want to talk about, so you start running during COVID, get checked to make sure you can run the Boston Marathon and everything. Did you have any races before that? Like, how did you train for the Boston Marathon?
So I didn't have races ahead of that. It was, I followed the program that the Dana-Farber running coach, Jack Fultz, who won Boston many moons ago. He, outlines kind of a program, and I just followed it to the letter. I mean, literally checking off every single day, everything that he had written out, I did. And so I would say, while I wasn't a runner, I was a long distance swimmer, right? So in college, swimming and playing water polo, like I have the ability to, I can joke that I'm like a turtle. Like I can keep going. I'm not a fast runner by any means, but if you say, and you've got to do X, Y, and Z, I will do that X, Y, and Z workout exactly that it's written. So while I didn't log any other races previous to that Boston Marathon or do any of that as part of the training, I still, followed the workout regimen really religiously.
Nice. That's awesome. And so your first race was the Boston Marathon.
I
That's
mean, I had
wild.
done like 5Ks here and there, but like
Mhm.
that was, when you go out with your friends and you're like, should we do a 5K? And you go out and you're drinking or whatever, the night before. That doesn't really.
That is so cool. Actually, I can't imagine what it's like for that to be your very first race. That is like the creme de la creme of first races. And I'm
Kind
assuming
of made a
that
leap there, Mike. I should have gone with the sourdough bread stuff.
I think about that all the time about whether or not I should have done that too. So I'm assuming that, and I probably know the answer to this, but so you've done a couple of these World Marathon Majors, and I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure you've probably done some races in between. But what was
No,
the
only marathons.
really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, you are a beast. So you just go from one World Marathon Major to the next.
Yeah. I mean, right now I'm in a stretch where I'm doing 2 a year.
Hmm.
And so I think also, like, I'm a mom, right? And so I also am very conscious of the amount of time. I think also being a cancer patient, like I'm very conscious of the time that I have with my family and my daughter. So when you go and you do your long runs or your training and you're waking up in the morning, because I run early in the morning, I'm effectively waking everybody else up in the house. I'm the one that on the weekends, if you do the long run, like I'm exhausted. I want to be on the couch. I want to be resting. I don't want to go and do other things. Whereas, in those downtimes in between the marathons, I want to wake up and make breakfast for my kiddo, on a Sunday morning. I don't want to be going and logging miles. So I say that I'm very conscious of it. I mean, would I like to do more? Sure, absolutely. But I have responsibilities that I prioritize over that. Your question of what
No,
you
that you
knew the answer to.
No, this actually makes it an even better question, because since you've only done the World Marathon Majors, I might know the answer to this, but which one meant the most to you, and what did it teach you about what you were capable of?
Wow. It was the first, right? The
Boston.
first Boston. I think running is such an individual sport, right? You're oftentimes, unless you're part of a club or something like that, which is fantastic. But where I was at in my journey, for the most part, I was running by myself. I mean, there was certainly, I definitely trained with my friend here and there. But as time has progressed, I'm doing this journey kind of by myself. And so while it is an incredibly individual sport for me, I am bolstered by this larger community that is connected to the Dana-Farber, right? The Dana-Farber team is very big, especially for Boston. There's roughly 500 runners that do that as part of the charity team every year. And I think when I first did the longest run I did with the Dana-Farber team, and I met all of these really incredible people who had all been touched by cancer in some way, right? A family member, or they had been through it or something. And you feel like you're doing something for something bigger than yourself, right? And selfishly, I'm raising money for cancer research, which is something that hits me really hits home for me really. And when you start to meet these other people and you talk to people who have lost their child or whatever it might be, you want to continue. There is no okay, one and done. You have to keep going because you're reminded of these stories and new people are coming through. And so I think I'd say that it taught me that I can, do hard things, but I kind of already knew that as part of my cancer journey. Like I can do this. I can keep getting up every day and I can keep going and getting treatment. And now I can keep doing that despite, having to log miles and, do all of those other things and work. And I think, now I look at it as these are things that my daughter is now old enough where she can start to understand what all of this means and doing something bigger, something for bigger than yourself, and how important that is as just a human.
No, I love that. And I think it's so powerful to teach your child not only can I do hard things and can I push through, what is happening, because it teaches you about perseverance and resilience in life in general. But I love that you're teaching her to give back, because I think there's so many people that don't do anything like that with their children, and they don't understand kind of that empathetic mindset that you
Mm,
would get if you were to go this route of teaching your children about the need to give back, and also letting
yeah.
them know like what giving back does. Like, this is what Dana-Farber does. This is what my money is going towards, because it's I don't want to say it's straightforward, but it's much easier to explain than some other charities, which might be a little bit more convoluted.
Mm, yeah.
But no, I really love that you're not only teaching her about resilience and perseverance, but giving her that empathetic mindset so that she knows how important it is to give back to society and to people, to help other people. And yeah, hey, who knows? Maybe one day she'll grow up to be a charity runner of her own, which would be fantastic. That's what I would love to do with my daughter.
Yeah.
Now,
Mike
a lot of
actually
runners,
I was just gonna say,
yeah,
she actually just started this year is her first year participating in a program called Girls on the Run,
I
and
love
she
that.
just
I love that organization.
yeah, it's really fantastic, and she had a lemonade stand with one of her teammates, and they raised close to $200, which gives back to help girls participate in running, which is fantastic. So, it's actually kind of coming full circle, like, you're seeing this kind of participation and, desire to want to help other people, which is really
I
cool.
love that. I love it. And so I don't even have to say, I hope she does it. She's already doing it. And that is
Yeah.
fantastic. I love that so much. Now, there's a lot of runners, they find the sport in chapters, right? There's a beginning
Mm.
chapter, there's like an obsession chapter, there's a quiet
Mhm.
chapter. What chapter would you say that you're probably in right now with your?
I would call it I'd probably call it the grind because coming off of the Tokyo training cycle, which, I know where you live, like the weather was just horrible this winter. And I ran Tokyo by myself. I trained for Tokyo by myself. And that was just so hard. One of the side effects of my cancer is that I do have bone pain when it's cold out. Or like if I go into like we live really close to the ocean. So if I go into the ocean and the water's really cold, like that pain is like it is so hard. I think running kind of masks it, like the pain in my muscles almost mask the pain in my bones. So I would say that that aspect of it was really hard, and the idea of like, "Oh my gosh, now I'm about to go and start running in this humidity."
Yeah.
Um, I am just it's a grind. So doing 2 I think I was doing 1 marathon a year, that was with Boston, and now I'm doing basically 2 a year. So I would call it the grind, and then also like you mentioned, the fundraising aspect, right? So coming up with unique ideas and ways to keep tapping into my network or other networks to help raise the money is the other aspect of this.
Okay. Yeah. No, I have, this is nothing compared to what you probably go through, but I have Raynaud's. So during the winter, my hands essentially freeze solid if it's cold at all, and
Oh my
especially during the
gosh.
winter. So I do a lot of my winter training actually inside on a treadmill. I think I ran the majority of my training for Boston this year on a treadmill, because I just didn't
Wow.
inside because of my hands,
Yeah.
because they physically hurt, and I like they've I can't bend them, and then I can't put them in like warm water because then they burn and it hurts.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I just have to kind of deal with it. But I can only imagine, that bone pain that you go through. And this, yeah, like you said, this entire winter has been so messed up. My wife and I gave birth during the massive ice storm that was in January. So we were actually stuck at the hospital. I could not move the car because there
Oh
was
my
so much
gosh.
ice underneath of it. Yeah, yeah. So luckily it was during the part where we were recovering, so we were there for a couple days, but I tried to get the car out so I could go get some stuff from home and I could not back out. So it was a massive struggle.
That's
But
wild.
no,
Ruby was actually born in a snowstorm as well back in because she was born on January 1st, and similarly, like, massive snowstorm, which I looking forward was actually a blessing because it meant that my husband could stay home longer, like, he wouldn't have to
mm,
go into the office because the
yeah.
snowstorm was so bad. And every day that would come through and I'd be like, "Yes."
Yeah, it was funny the day before the snowstorm on the new mom floor, they discharged like 10 people because they were like, "We want to get you out of here before the snowstorm hits." And we were like, for us, they were like, "We can't discharge you because you just had the baby." So we
Yeah.
were
Where
we were
you're like,
stuck.
"Great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were fine. We were like, okay, this is great. We're surrounded by doctors and nurses in case
All the
anything goes
help." Yeah.
maybe. Now, with your I want to say regular life, but with your job, you are a jewelry designer, right? It requires a
So I'm a part-time jewelry designer. So I actually work in advertising, and that's my full-time
okay.
job. Jewelry design is because for the most part, my daytime job deals with emails and spreadsheets, and not to say that it isn't creative because it absolutely is, but I am not a creator in that sense. Like, I'm an account person. And so the jewelry is where I'm able to kind of get my creative outlet and play and whatnot.
I love that. I love that. Again, that's kind of one of the reasons why I started my account actually was because I do kind of the same thing and I was like, this is not going to be my entire life.
Yeah.
Which actually it's perfect that you said that because being a jewelry designer, it requires a different kind of patience and a different kind of craft than you would with the 26.2 miles that you run. But I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that in some way, because you're using your creativity, it's in like different aspects. How do these two things kind of talk to each other? Does one feed the other, or is there some sort of connection between the two that you feel?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know that it would necessarily I don't know that I'd see a one-to-one mapping on it. I will say that so I'm a completely self-taught jewelry designer, it goes back many many years. But like watching YouTube videos and like trying to figure out how you make things or compile things. But actually on the most recent trip to Tokyo, I made a point to stop at a bead store while I was there, and I wanted to pick out something special that made me think of the Tokyo Marathon. So I picked out certain like really specific colors of glass beads, which
Mm,
align with the colors that are on the ribbon
okay.
that are it's like the Tokyo Marathon medal.
Yeah.
So it's like the oranges, reds, yellows, like those colors. And then for Boston, I also created this pin slash other pieces that have these vintage glass charms that have like a unicorn on it, which is right the iconic
Yeah.
logo for the Boston Marathon. So that's how I would see it overlaps so now I'm kind of trying to pivot to see how can I use the jewelry designer side of me to help fundraise for the marathons, right? So like if I'm creating these, custom pieces, am I able to use that as a fundraising
Mm.
mechanism where, the
Oh, that's
portions of the proceeds will go, yeah, to the Dana-Farber. Yeah.
no, I love that. You'll have to. I'm pretty sure your account has a link to everything, right?
So
On,
it's a great question. I currently I'm currently just in a couple stores and I sell through Instagram. I did have an Etsy shop, but because I'm also trying to do all of the things, right? Like work full time, have a kid, it's really hard for me to maintain
yeah.
a digital storefront. So I just supply stores and then sell through Instagram.
Okay. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to grab something from you because I had actually a friend made me it's just a bead bracelet, but they made it for me for Boston, and I've been wearing it ever since. So I have somehow fallen in love with wearing bracelets. So I would love to 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 buy something from you.
Yeah, we'll work something out.
Sounds good. Now, there's when you look at jewelry making and you look at marathon running, there's a lot of words that describe both in the same way. So you have discipline, patience, you show up daily. You talked about, you do all the things. And especially when you have this additional thing that you're trying to do on top of being a parent and having a full-time job, it's very stressful, but you still show up for it. Do you see yourself the same way when you make jewelry as you do when you're on the road training?
So I wouldn't equate it to working or to jewelry, because I think like my daytime job and the jewelry requires you to be creative in a different way. You're problem solving or whatever it might be, and you're working with a team. So I think it's just a different environment and a different setting. I think what the marathon training is most closely tracking with is the perseverance that's needed is very similar to what is happening with my cancer journey, right? It's the fact that I'm still going in and getting treatment regularly, that I still have to go in and get my scans and the anxiety that comes along with those. So it's the having to get up and go and do all of those things over and over and over and continue to get up and keep going. That is the parallel there versus what you might see with a desk job that, you're not truly working on Saturday and Sunday, right? You are probably to some extent, but when it comes to work or it comes to jewelry design, it's not as much of a mental challenge, if you will.
Yeah, no, I completely hear you on that. And it's funny you talk about your diagnosis because it kind of segues into my next question for you, because your Instagram bio says thriving with stage 4 breast cancer, and that word thriving it's a choice to put that in there. Can you tell me about that word and what it means to you?
Yeah, I think a lot of people use battle language when it comes to cancer. And for somebody who is stage 4, I don't like those words. And I'll explain why. For me, a battle indicates there's a fight and that you have the possibility of winning. With stage 4, unfortunately, that's not the case. There is no cure for what I have. I'm on treatment for the rest of my life. And so when I look at how I am choosing to live my life despite my cancer diagnosis, I would say I'm thriving. I'm out here, I work full time, I can take care of my kid, and I can run marathons, right? So
Mhm.
I am so lucky that my treatment plan and the side effects that I have are it seems weird to say easy, but relatively easy to navigate right now, which allows me to thrive, to keep going. Yeah.
And I know we talked about this before the show, but we talked about side effects, and we talked about that it's different for everybody and that there are physical ones and there are mental ones.
hmm
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. I think when you hear of somebody being diagnosed with cancer, you think of those physical things like seeing somebody lose their hair, or they have to have surgery to remove a breast, or they're vomiting or other ailments. And it's not to say that I haven't gone through my version of those things, especially earlier on in my diagnosis, but what I couldn't have even imagined is the mental aspect of navigating a cancer diagnosis and the impact that has on everyone around me. How I'm, feeling in a given day, it impacts the next person, impacts my coworker, whatever it might be. And so the mental aspect is very challenging. And I think, earlier on it was, am I going to see my daughter go to kindergarten? Am I going to be able to work? How are we going to pay for this? And now it's shifted into this different phase, which is it's an awkward place to be in and certainly in the best way. I absolutely feel this kind of guilt because I somehow got lucky. I've had so many friends pass away from this horrible disease. that just weren't as lucky. And I do really hinge it on luck because they're not doing anything different than I did. They went and got their treatment. The treatment is what fails. It's not the person. So when we talk about going back to that battle language and thriving, it's like those people are not doing anything different than I did or have done, just showing up for treatment and whatnot. But yeah, I think when you think about the mental aspect, it really can weigh on you. And then you have, because you are still going in for treatment all the time and you're going in for your scans and things like that. In fact, this Friday I have scans. There's still an anxiety that comes with that, in the lead up to it. Are you going to find something there? I know you haven't found anything and it's unlikely that you will, but it's still that I have to go in and get scans just in case. So it's, you live in these 3-month increments of hoping that nothing's happening in there and whatnot. That makes it really tough. And I think that when people are training for these longer distance running, a lot of times, yes, your body physically hurts, but it is your mental training that gets you through those races and through
Mhm.
those training cycles, right? It is your brain, you telling your brain, I can do this. I can keep going. I can keep logging those miles. It's not your body.
No, that I agree with you 100%. Thank you so much for talking about the mental aspect of it too, because I think as when you talk about that 3-month increment of getting scanned, I mean, I've talked about this briefly on the podcast and there's a post on my Instagram about it, but I had a cancer scare where I needed massive surgery. And then essentially what ended up happening is instead of it being every 3 months, for me, it was every 2 weeks, I would have a fear
Mm.
of, of the cancer actually coming because every week, every 2 weeks, they would do a biopsy. And so I would come back the following week, and if they didn't say anything, it was a win for me. And that went
Yeah.
on for, and then after that, it was monthly checks, and then went 3-month checks, and that went on for 3 years. So I would go, and in my head, I would think everything was fine, but then they would be like, "Oh, wait a minute, we potentially found something," and it would throw me out of whack because everything seemed fine, and now it's not. It was a whole thing. So I was so stressed and so filled with anxiety and depression
Mhm.
because of it. I remember crying a lot. And so I appreciate you talking about that because I think, yeah, like you said, everybody knows like the quote unquote signs of cancer. You lose your hair, you get skinnier, you lose weight, you might, get sunken eyes and things like that. You get weak. But behind that is something that could be even worse. And so I think it's really important to remember that. Since you've been diagnosed and you got diagnosed before you started running, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So when I started running, actually let me take it back. When I was working out, with my Peloton, that was like a gradual build up, right? It wasn't nobody gets on the Peloton the first time and is doing 45-minute workouts. I mean, like, unless you're like an elite workout person and you just happen to be getting this new piece of equipment. But it was like a slow roll, right? It's the 10 minutes on the bike because was so physically ill, right? So you start to see these accomplishments and, okay, now I've ridden 30 minutes and now I'm doing 30 minutes regularly. Now I'm doing yoga. Like, okay, this is interesting, right? But I think when I started running, that was something that helped from a mental aspect. I think because Peloton, you have this coach and they're interacting with you, you kind of are like transported and into another place.
Mhm.
Whereas running really puts you inside, right? It's really in your brain to keep going. And not to say that I don't do running with the running coaches and things like that, but a lot of times on the longer runs, I would just, use music and whatnot. And it became this sense of therapy because I struggled to connect with therapists. I've tried multiple therapists and I
Mhm.
really struggled to connect in a way that made me feel better coming out of it, and running really helped with that, right? It helped me feel better about myself. I had this sense of accomplishment that I've gone through and, especially logging the workouts early in the morning, starting my day with this sense of accomplishment. I've gone and done this. I've logged these miles and I feel better and I can keep going. It's like this mental reassurance that I'm going to be okay, that today I'm going to be okay, you know? And so as I've kind of continued to add the running, it's now become bigger with the community, right? And so being able to be connected to these different Dana-Farber team members and whatnot, it's just taken on such a such a unique journey of its own that I couldn't imagine that has really helped me mentally.
I cannot tell you how much running has helped me in a mental
Mm,
aspect. Because I started
mhm.
running because of my mental health. I tried to take my life, and everything happened with the cancer scare. And then I had a doctor
Yeah.
tell me that I was hypertension stage 2 and like needed to start taking care of myself, or it was like I was going to have a
Yeah.
stroke. So
Yeah.
that scared me starting to run. And it not only helped me physically and I lost weight, but then I started to realize without even knowing that I was kind of getting into the runner's high, but the runner's high for me was just calmness. It was just like a
Mm,
serene, quiet feeling where it was just me, my music or my podcast, audiobook, what have you, my feet pounding the
yeah.
pavement. And that was in my breath. Like that was it. I didn't have to think about anything else. Obviously, I could think about what pace I want to do. Do I have to speed up if I'm doing intervals and things like that? But if I was doing, a normal run, it was a way for me to just get that clear, empty mind that they talk about with meditation. And even during the runs, I was sometimes able to solve problems that I had like in my head that I had needed to figure out because I had that period of time where there was just nothing else. And so yeah, I completely agree with you about the mental health aspect and the I know that therapists and therapy can be a struggle for a lot of people, especially I've gone through
Yes.
dozens of therapists. I remember I was with one therapist who I wasn't able to see anymore, but I loved him and I went to go try to find another one. And I think in the span of a month, I saw probably about 8 different ones.
Mm,
Picked
mhm.
one, was with them for a year, was not happy. So it was like, it's such a struggle sometimes to find that. And like, honestly, who wants to go through the process of essentially
Yeah.
doing interviews with therapists to find one that works for them sometimes? It can be exhausting, needing to explain your story over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm not like running obviously is not going to be the be all end all for with therapy, but it is something that is very helpful with mental clarity.
Mhm.
And I'm glad that you were able to find that because it's something that, especially for new runners, they want that, but they don't get it immediately.
Right.
It takes time. Like it's gonna be a struggle. You're gonna have the fatigue. You might not be able to run for more than 30 seconds at a time. Run, walk, who cares? But over time, you'll start to finally get that feeling. And I don't even call it runner's high because I just think of it as like a meditative state that happens. And it's really wonderful once you get into it because you kind of I call it locking in, where you're just like, this is it. Especially for my marathons, I'll lock in and that'll be the only thing I'm focused on. And it takes away a lot of the stress of everything else that's going.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now I know there are definitely people that are going to listen to this who are facing something hard, whether it's a diagnosis, it could be death of a family member, it could be mental health, it could be loss of a relationship, something else, what have you. What do you want them to hear from you about what is still possible?
I think you kind of answered it. I think it's that things are possible. That it just because you're handed something doesn't mean that the Google search result or the prognosis is going to be the journey or the destination that you're on. That things are absolutely possible. So I'm a big proponent of keeping a positive attitude, and it's kind of funny because my father has a health condition, and growing up, he always was Mr. Positive, almost to the point where, as a kid, my sister and I used to eye roll all the time. Like, you've just got to stay positive. You just got to stay positive. You never know what can happen. And now I hear myself saying the same thing to my kiddo. And it's because, and even to this day, my dad still, despite his own diagnosis, despite my diagnosis, we're still thinking positive, right? Because that's something that you can control, right? Is to be thinking positive. And it's so hard, right? Like it's to go and tell a cancer patient, just be positive. That like, let me tell you the swear words that would come out of my mouth and
Mm,
could come out of my mouth as a result of that. But so that's why I say that things are possible. That if you do keep a positive attitude and do focus on the good, right? There might be 23 hours of the day that might be awful. You might be in pain, you might be hurting, whatever. There might be something good right out there, that the sun is shining, that you got to sit up in bed, or that you get to play with your kiddo, or whatever it might be. Those small things that don't seemingly that seemingly aren't that big can still mean a lot. And I really, especially early on, really tried to focus on those things despite how difficult those other 23 hours a day were.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny the Mr. Positive thing you talked about. I used to be literally the most negative person you could ever meet.
Really?
Yeah, before 2018, when I tell everybody that I feel like after I tried taking my life in 2018, I felt like the part of me that I didn't like, the negative, depressed. I mean, I'm still depressed, but I have it kind of managed. And it's just like I was a very macabre person. Like I just didn't want to be here. I was very sad all the time. And I literally was like, nobody wants to be around me because of this. I used to be that person. And then I started to turn into a more positive person. I remember once I posted on Facebook, if you could to ask people like, if I had to give a TED talk on anything, what would it be? And someone literally commented like resilience and positivity. And I just sat there like, what have I become? Because I just think I couldn't believe like the kind of person that I am today. And I try it's very difficult for me to explain like who I used to be and who I am now because they are vastly two different people. And I believe that I was reborn as a brand new person in
Wow.
2018, just which is it makes me happy to feel that way because I kind of I still struggle with like self-esteem and stuff, but kind of like myself now. I don't want to say I like myself because it feels weird to say that. But it's so good to keep a positive mindset, and I'm the kind of person in my marriage with my wife where if there is, like, something that happens, I'm the person who's like, "Okay, let's work through this." Like, "Let's become
Yeah.
cool and connected," and, like, I don't go in crisis mode, I go into, like, problem-solving mode, like, immediately, and we always joke about how there's, like our relationship is just 2 totally different people, the one who's, like, anxious all the time and freaks out, and me who's just like, "Yeah, we'll get it done, we'll be fine."
Mm,
And
I
it's
really relate to that. I'm always I feel like I'm a problem solver now. Like, what
Mhm.
I also you probably feel this way too in the sense that, like, in the grand scheme of things, of problems that we have, a how are we gonna solve this challenge is so small in
Yeah.
comparison to, like, real life problems,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So you have this unique perspective on problems that, kinda make them feel pretty small.
I I 100% agree with you on that. There's so many things that happen where I'm just like, "Really? We're worried about this,
Mhm.
and something else could happen?" Like, that is a lot more important and changes your perspective on life. It's wild sometimes when that happens.
Yeah, and you also and I feel like this with you almost, even though we haven't met, we have this unique connection because you've been through something that has changed you and changed
Yes.
your perspective. You are able to connect with people in a different way, and not everybody gets that. I don't wanna say that I'm happy for that, right? Because it means that I had to have gone through cancer in order to get to this place,
Mhm.
but you are able to connect with people in a different way. And those relationships can really mean something versus just moving through life, right?
No, absolutely. I mean, it's there's something that shifts in your brain when you have one of these events happen to you, whether it's cancer or a suicide attempt or death of a loved one, even having
Yeah.
a kid. Like
Mm.
I can't tell you how much I went back to work last week after 4 months of paternity leave, and I cannot tell you how much my entire mindset has shifted from like really spreadsheets matter more than like taking care of my 4 month old. No, it doesn't.
Hey.
So it's just weird to be like in this position now because I if you had asked me like 5 months ago would I feel like I needed to make work my entire life, I probably would have said it would have been a big part, but not all of it. But now it's just like thrown out the window, and
Mhm.
it's like I don't even. It's not that I don't care about it, but it's like in the grand scheme of things, like raising a child to be a good person is a
Right.
lot more important than me submitting this Excel report.
Mhm.
It just blows my mind how we make certain things so much more important than they really should be sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I want to move on to something more positive because you are chasing the 6 stars for Dana-Farber.
Yes.
You said you want to run all of the stars with Dana-Farber themselves, and you have three of them, right? Or two? I know you have Boston and you have Tokyo.
And I have Chicago.
It's
Yes.
Chicago.
So
Okay, that's a
this will be so Dana-Farber doesn't have bibs for all of the marathons. So they actually don't have bibs for Chicago. I got in through a different way, and I also got they don't have a bib for London, so I got in a different way for London, so that's on the list. But the plan is actually to be the first person to raise money and for Dana-Farber for every single one of the 6 stars. So I have Boston, Tokyo, and Chicago, and I have Berlin, London, and New York left in that order. That's the plan.
Do you have a plan for like the order you want to do them in?
That's it, right? So I have Berlin, then London, then New York, and I'd like to finish with New York just because I'm hoping that, like it's my family could come see
Mhm.
that one. Yeah.
So do you have them already lined up, or
Yeah.
so you're in
Yes.
London already for next year?
Yes.
Wow, that is incredible. How much, if you don't mind me asking, what is your fundraising for all of them that you have to raise? Is it different for each one?
It's different for each one, and because this is kind of tricky, but because Dana-Farber doesn't have a bib for London, I don't have necessarily like a threshold I have to meet. I got in through a different way, so I don't have a threshold, but my goal is in totality when I finish that 6 star to have raised 200,000 for Dana-Farber.
Wow,
Yeah, that's
that
the
is
that's the goal. So I think I'm probably around 150 right now.
wow. So you're up there with with Christina, who I've also interviewed.
Yeah, she's a boss. She is a boss,
She
yes.
is incredible. Like I
She's an incredible fundraiser and just really good human. Yeah.
absolutely, her story is absolutely incredible. Did you get? I know that she got a pin. I think right for hitting 150. Did you also get a pin?
I got a little fancy Dana-Farber pin when I hit 100K.
That is
Yeah.
awesome. $200,000. That's Do you know like what the most someone has like raised for Dana-Farber has been?
I don't know if they've hit 1,000,000, but there are people that are in the, like, 500,000 mark. Yeah, they got good
Oh
connections.
my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. So Dana-Farber is huge for this. Oh wait, I meant to ask actually, are you going to so you're going for the 6 star. Are you gonna also run in Sydney and Cape Town?
So, maybe.
Okay.
That's on this is we're gonna edit this out, but there's another brand that is open to sponsoring me for that one, in which case, and I just found out about it, so and then the London bib that hasn't been announced, but, I got in through, a different way, so I hate being vague about these things, so I'm, trying to find the right way to say these things,
No,
but
you're
yeah,
fine.
the plan is
What
to actually, you know the Abbott, right? You can apply
Mhm.
through Abbott to get bibs, and so I was given a bib by Abbott for London,
That is
but
awesome.
it's, not public knowledge yet, so
Okay, yeah, yeah. No, no, that's fine.
yeah,
I
yeah.
will
I
I'll
just
add.
feel weird being I'm, trying to figure out, I never even thought about how do I talk about this?
No, no, you're fine. You're actually the second person I think I've spoken to who got in with Team Abbott with for one of the majors. I forget who it was. Then they ran Boston,
Mm.
and I did. It was in my Boston recap video. I forget how she got in. I think she had some rare like disorder or something like that.
Yeah,
But
you can apply to get bibs through Team Abbott.
so many times. Yeah, because I have a very. This is going to sound really weird. I have a very rare vascular disorder.
Mm.
It's only like 6 families in the world have it,
Oh my god.
and it's, the only way I can describe it is it causes these, like, blue dots to grow from your veins into your skin, and so, like, they literally look like blue marker points that you would, like, draw on somebody, and they can get painful, they can, like, become raised and bumpy, so they're just, like, uncomfortable to have, and the only place in the country, or one of the only places in the world that really specializes in it is Boston Children's Hospital. And
My.
so I spent like 34 years of my life, 35 years of my life trying to find out about this and then discovered that they knew. So I went to Boston Children's Hospital and got seen by like 10 different doctors at once, to the point where I almost passed out because the room was like so full of hot air, and it felt like an episode of Grey's Anatomy. And I had surgery, a 6-hour surgery to remove all of them from my body. And the awful thing though is that they can still grow anywhere else they want. So I have more now in different spots. And so I can't, it's like no way to stop it because it's a chromosomal like anomaly thing. Like there's one of my chromosomes that got messed up when it was being made
Oh.
and it's hereditary. So I have uncles and cousins who have it
Hmm.
and they don't know really what it is. I'm like the only person in the family that knows what it is. And so maybe I should write about that and tell them because I told them about the other story, but I feel like this would be like, they'd be like, oh, you have a very weird thing. In
Yes,
fact, I got
absolutely.
into a car accident the day after I had the surgery.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Right.
it wasn't my fault. The car
No, I'm
rear-ended
just
us.
saying, like, all of these things, man.
Yeah, it was a car accident. The biggest part of the surgery that I had was on my side. If you look at it, it looks like I got stabbed because of the scar. That entire area reopened when I got hit by the car. And so it got infected. I had to be on antibiotics like twice, almost got sepsis. It was a whole thing. I digress though, because that's not the important thing. I want to talk about Dana-Farber because it's very near and dear to your heart. It's very
Yeah.
important to you. What does it mean to put your miles towards the place that has been part of your care?
Wow. So running for Dana-Farber really hits home for me because it's where I get my treatment, right?
Mhm.
My oncologist, Dr. Sarah Delaney, is the head of the breast oncology group. And when I meet with her, I am, kind of always inspired not only by her absolute, it, she's just an incredible person, just so smart, but also she really has her finger on the pulse of what's happening in the community, in the research community. So she's actively talking about, what is happening with research at the Dana-Farber. She's also looking not just at breast cancer treatment, but also what other treatments maybe apply, right, to breast cancer, right? What they're doing in lung cancer. Is that something that we can learn from it? And so the team that I have, from my nurses to my doctors, just runs the gamut. I just really felt like I needed a way to give back to the people that have done so much for me. And when you think about that, that's really, giving back to research to help others and help patients like me be able to live in the way that they want to live their life, right? To be able to go and wake up in the morning and go and play with their kids and go to work and do all those things that normal humans do. And at the Dana-Farber, the money, actually 100% of it goes to the Claudia Barr Adams program, which is dedicated to innovative cancer research. And so while it is not dedicated to stage 4 breast cancer, I think about how the research that they're doing has the patient's best interest at heart. Because when you look at drug companies and what they're investing in, they're in it to make money. Right. So they're going to invest in treatments that are going to help people, of course, and find new ways to unlock different drugs or whatever it might be, help side effects and things. But the people that Dana-Farber are really looking at those things that are really going to help move the needle for patients. And so I look at it, it's not only just helping patients like me, it's helping patients within the metastatic breast community. It's also helping patients, just anybody that's walking through the doors at the Dana-Farber or somewhere else around the world and trying to find solutions and hopefully end, one day, end cancer.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That is so powerful. And I'm in awe of your tenacity to one, live your life to the fullest, but two, give back so much to this organization because when I ran Boston in 2024, I raised money for the Brigham Women's Hospital,
But yeah, yeah.
for the Stepping Strong team for Gillian Remy. And it was really powerful to do that because I think personally that Boston hospitals in general are some of the best in the world,
Absolutely.
and to especially Dana-Farber when it comes to cancer research and treatment. And so I just think like I'm in awe of what you've done. You and Christina with the things that you have done with Dana-Farber, the amount of money that you've raised, the amount of awareness that you've given to this organization. I think it's so phenomenal and it's so inspiring. And I just want to say to anybody who is listening, if you have any thoughts about being a charity runner or thinking that you want to run for a charity, or if, for example, you think that from maybe something you may have read online that charity runners are not as important or don't belong within these marathons, I'm 100% here to tell you that that is not the case.
Mhm.
Signing up as a charity runner is probably one of the best things you will ever do because when you cross that finish line, you will not only feel accomplished for finishing the race, but you will finish knowing that you helped people. You provided services, you provided treatment, you provided research, what have you, to
Hmm.
some. So please sign up as a charity runner. It doesn't make you any less of a marathon runner for any of these races. Don't let anybody tell you anything different because it's one of the most important things that you could ever do as a marathon runner.
Yeah, well said, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you. Now for your stars, you have three of them collected. You've
Hmm.
The order that you have is Berlin, London, New York. Now, is there a reason that that is the order? Is there a reason why New York is the last one?
I think with New York, because it's the closest to home, I'm hoping that I can have more family and friends go to that one. So yeah, that's the plan. Is like almost like it's almost like you're running home. I would probably pick Boston, but yeah, I don't know. And then I think this is just like my side tangent. So that would put me at a total of 9 marathons, and that's not an even number. So then I'm like, do I do Boston? I don't know. There's Sydney. I feel like what's going to happen when I say I'm done with this? What's next? And I
Believe
think,
me, you're gonna finish and you're gonna figure something out. Because I did the same exact thing. I was like, I don't know what to do next. And now I just keep running the majors. And like I'm like halfway through my second and third 6-star medal. So it's just like I don't know what to do. So but I promise you, once you finish, that itch to still run marathons is gonna be there.
yeah,
And the good thing too is like you could still raise money for Dana-Farber with smaller marathons or even the ones
absolutely.
that are big but not majors, like Philly or CIM or San Francisco, things like that. I think those would be great to do too. But I
Yeah.
do want to warn you, once you finish your 6-star journey, you will feel lost. I felt so like I felt like I was just wandering around after I finished. I was like, I don't know what to do now because I accomplished my goal and I just didn't know where to go. And so just be prepared for that because it did I was very happy, but I did get a little depressed because you get the marathon blues when you finish a marathon, but this was like 10 times worse because it was
Yeah.
like all 6 are done. What do I do now? Is there one that you're looking forward to the most?
No. I'm kind of making these like I'm doing these fairly quickly, right? In
Mhm.
succession. I think it's still this mental game. I still am waiting kind of for this shoe to drop when it comes to cancer and this diagnosis that I have. That every single one is such a gift. When I ran Tokyo, my family came with me, my husband and my daughter came with me, and we had the most incredible time together. So it's almost like less about the race and looking forward to the race and more about that experience that I have with my family that I just, going back to that original diagnosis, like I never would have imagined that I would have gone to Tokyo
Yes.
with my family and that I would have ran a freaking marathon there. Like that is just such an absurd thing. And to be thinking about here I'm looking at what I'm gonna do in 2028. Like I planning 2 weeks ahead in that original diagnosis was something that I was like, I don't even know how will I feel? Will I be able to get up out of bed? Am I gonna be sick? Like now it's like I'm literally thinking through that. It's just a wild concept. So I know, yes, I cannot wait to put that 6-star medal on, like, it's just gonna be epic in New York, like, amazing. It's just, yeah, I don't know that there is one specific thing that I'm looking forward to. It's an incredible journey that I'm just so lucky to be on.
Yes, absolutely. Now, are you going to run New York next year?
So that's the plan, yeah, next
Okay.
year.
So I will be running New York next year as well.
Yes.
And I would love to meet up with you and see you before and after the marathon so I could see that 6-star
Oh
medal.
my god, that'd be so epic. Yes. Yes.
Yes, it would be fantastic. And I agree with you because I finished my first marathon 2021 was New York, and I just decided randomly after that to sign up for the Berlin lottery, and I got in for
Mhm.
2022. I never expected ever in my life that I would travel the world running races.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't think like I was like, okay, I think yeah, London I'll definitely probably do because it's close to Berlin and it's in Europe.
Mhm.
But I never anticipated that I would ever run in Tokyo or go to Tokyo. Like, it was my dream to always go there. And the fact that I did get to go there twice now is just outrageous because
Mhm.
it was a dream that just seemed so far fetched and out there for me. And it didn't hit me actually until we like got off the plane and I just looked around and I was like, my God, I cannot believe where we are. And now I just want to go back every single year because I just love the city. But
Yeah. I mean,
you
also, like, running in Tokyo, I know we talked about it earlier, like, that was my first international marathon, international race, where am I eating my pasta? What time is it? Where am I getting all my fluids? Like, put it just it's so much. It is so much to think about.
Yeah, it's so cool that that was your first international marathon. That's amazing. I love that. Now you talked about this a little bit with Ruby doing fundraiser for Girls on the Run, but as her mom and what you do with these marathons, raising money for Dana-Farber, chasing the 6-star medal, what do you want her to take away from watching you do what you're doing?
I think it goes back to what you had asked before, which is really that, you can do hard things and that anything is possible. Anything is possible. It's possible. Somebody can go out there and be running a marathon with stage 4 breast cancer. That's a possibility. So, I think that's what I would say.
I love that. I love that. I mean, I have never met her and I have not met you, but I already feel like she is going to grow up to be a fantastic woman who is going to understand the importance of being there for other people, which is going to be incredible for just the world in general.
Yeah, I hope we're raising good humans here, Mike. That's the
Yes.
that's the goal.
Yeah, always, always. And now this kind of actually segues into my next question about kind of the camaraderie and the community aspect of things. So you talked about Peloton,
Mhm.
and you talked about Dana-Farber, right? They're two of the most committed groups in this sport. Peloton sponsors the New York City Marathon. They do shakeout runs at like every single World Marathon Major. They have New York City Marathon course runs on the Peloton tread. Dana-Farber has so many teams for so many marathons that are huge, and especially with Boston. What have those communities given you that has kept you moving?
I think, I talked about how running is such an individual sport. I think when I feel connected to the community, I feel like you talk about hands on your back in Peloton. It is not feeling alone, despite you being out there and logging your miles by yourself or whatever it might be. You don't feel as alone. And I think that goes a long way, right? And helping others feel not alone when they're out there or navigating something difficult, right? They lost their job or they are struggling with something else, to be able to reach out and just say, I'm here with you. Or do you want to go for a run and we can talk about it or we don't talk about it. I think that can really go a long way. Just being part of a community.
Yeah. I love the phrase hands on your back. I say it all the time to people whenever they're going through any sort of hard time because it's so powerful,
Hmm.
but it's such a simple statement.
Yeah.
And I think it in my opinion, I think it means more than just saying like I'm here for you. It means that like I am right here beside you while everything is going on, no matter what it is. So,
Yeah.
it's funny, I bring up that term all the time to people who are not Peloton users. And I wish some of them were because of what they talk about, because I feel like they would connect really well with the Peloton community. But the name of this podcast is At Your Own Pace. What does the term at your own pace mean to a woman who's doing what you're doing? Like, what do you want every single person listening to take from your story?
That's a good question. I think when I think about at your own pace, I think about how, so many people that run marathons are so focused on what their time is going to be, if they're going to PR, if they're, what their current pace time is and all of that. It's like, man, first off, just in the running world, there's so many factors that can throw those things out the door, right? The weather is hot, right? Tokyo is hot. and I was listening to your podcast, and I was like hearing all these people talk about how hot it was, and I was like, yes, it was hot. Like that, something like the heat can completely impact your time, right? So when it comes to at your own pace, it's at your own pace on that given day, in that given moment. And if you are going out and you're logging some miles and it's a slower day because of whatever you're going through, that's okay. Forward is a pace, movement is a pace. Like it doesn't matter, right? And I know being a competitive athlete, especially in college, competition, I was always competing with myself and with others and being so focused on that I lost sight oftentimes of the journey and how great the journey can be and what you can learn from it. And so when you ask the question about what does at your own pace mean, it really means at your own pace. No one else's expectations, no one else's setting a bar or, you've got to meet something. It's like, what is happening in that given day and given time? And if you can get up out of the bed and you can move down the stairs and make it out the door, and even if you're just walking to the end of the street, that's at your own pace and that's okay. And that's great because you made it out the door and you made it down the street. I'm very humbled by what I couldn't do when I was earlier diagnosed and what I can do now and how grateful I am for that. So I'm going to run, Berlin at my own pace. And afterwards, we're going to go and do a ton of fun stuff. And I can't wait to eat a giant soft pretzel. And I only do that because I ran that marathon at my own pace, not because I tried to make a PR or anything like that.
This episode is brought to you by Strava. Now, if you are an athlete in any way, shape, or form, you know Strava. You know the website, you know the app, you know the kudos, you know about the local legends and the battles we have to achieve them. If you use the code Mike at checkout, you'll save 20% off your premium subscription. And I love the premium services that Strava offers. My favorite thing by far is the offline maps. I love creating my maps or giving me recommendations for maps when I'm in a new area or if I just want to go in a new direction in the area that I live. So if you are looking at purchasing the Strava Premium service, or if you already have Strava Premium, use the code Mike to save yourself 20%. Now, back to the show. Now, my next set of questions that I have are what I call the hot seat. These are just some quick, fun questions that I ask everybody to just learn more about you. Brought to you by Shocks. If you use the code Mike Runs Marathons, you can save a little bit on your order. I think they might still be doing a Memorial Day sale. I'm not sure, but they are my favorite pair of headphones that I use for running all the time, whether it's the Open Run Pro 2s or the Open Dots 1. They keep me safe while I run and they have great sound quality. But, Anne, my first question for you is trail or road? What is your favorite running shoe brand right
Adios, Adi Zero, the Adidas shoes.
now? Okay. Are you an early alarm or a late runner?
Early, 10 out of 10 times.
On your long runs, do you prefer to run them solo or with others?
On the long runs, solo. Short runs with friends.
What is your favorite post marathon meal?
My favorite, what is that question?
So your favorite post marathon.
Favorite post marathon meal? You know what? I don't have a favorite post marathon meal because I am like that person that have like pretty much died out there. So like getting food in is not an enjoyable experience. So it's like,
Yeah.
I think if you said, what's your favorite post long run meal? It's going to be a pretzel bun with an egg and cheese situation on it, like a big fatty breakfast meal sandwich.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, I'll take that. That sounds full of carbs and full of protein. So that's good. That's good in my book. But on the flip side, what is your favorite late night snack?
Favorite late night snack? Oh, this is going to sound lame, but it's like Skinny Pop. Man, I go through so many bags of Skinny Pop.
My
Like
wife
I'm definitely like I definitely eat chocolate and sweets on the regular, but like if that's like my go-to.
Do you go to like Costco and buy the giant bags that they
I
have?
don't. I should. I should be on a subscription plan with those things. In
Okay.
fact, I'm sitting at my desk right now, Mike, and I'm sitting next to a bag because it's like I have it for work. It's my snack bag is out here, and then I have one downstairs.
Listen, I don't want to, put any bad habits into your head, but I just looked up on Amazon and they do have them on there, and I believe you can probably set up a subscription. So yes, you can actually. So I'm just saying, but I'm not saying if you didn't want to sign up, you could. Now, on your easy runs, do you prefer music, podcast, or silence?
Music.
What is the one piece of running gear that you can't live without and you cannot say your shoes?
My headphones.
Same, same. I need my headphones. Do you have a dream race? Now, it could be one of the World Marathon Majors or it could be another race. It could be like far out there. Whatever is your race that you would love to run.
I'd love to do an ultra.
Do you have one in mind?
No, I got to do a short one, which is weird to say an ultra would be a short one, but I got to like,
Do you do like a 50K?
yeah, but dude, that's like crazy.
I mean, it's only 6 miles. No, 24, 8, no, 26. What am I talking about?
Carry the 9. I
Six
don't know.
miles
It's a
more.
lot, dude. It's a lot.
You can do another 10K, right? I mean, and ultras are slower, so you just run walk if you want. You don't have to
Yeah.
run the whole time.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I've signed up for 2 50Ks and I did not show up for either of them because I chickened out. So maybe one day I'll do one because every single time I talk to somebody who's a marathon runner, they'll just randomly throw out, yeah, I've done 150K, 150 miler. And I'm like, oh, stop like peer pressuring me
Yeah. Actually, you know what?
because I
I
want to
I
do it.
almost I think I would take it back. I think I'd love to run with my daughter. I think I'd love to run Boston with her. You know, she's still way too young to do it, but I think that would be pretty amazing.
I just spoke to somebody actually the last episode that came out. I asked him what he wanted to run and he said Tokyo because that's his last star. And
Mm,
he would love to run it with his son. And but his son's like 5, or 6, I think. So he's like, he can't run with me, but I would love
right.
if he could.
Right.
I mean, I would love to run with my daughter, but she can't even lift her head up. So I have to wait a little bit for that.
Right. Right.
Now, these next 2 questions are questions that I ask people to gather some information from them that I share with other people. The first is what I call the motivation library. So if you could pick one quote, a mantra, or a line that gets you through the tough miles, what would it be?
I don't have to. I get to.
Good one. I like that.
You
I
know
say
that
that
one too.
all the I say it to myself all the time, especially when I'm struggling during a long run and I just be like, why am I doing this? Be like, yeah, I chose to do this. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I want to picture you. Let's do New York. Next year, you're crossing the finish line. You just came back into Central Park. You can see it. People are screaming your name. What song is blasting through your headphones as you cross that finish line?
No, if I can. I mean, I probably have to like look up on my playlist. I mean, there's like a couple songs that I love to run to, but I don't know if I have one that's like actually, hold on. Give me 1 second. Imma look
Mhm.
it up because there is one that I've been listening to more of. It is gosh, you're gonna have to definitely edit this one.
No, you're fine.
I can't, like, search my playlist. It's like a T.I. song. I don't know. I think you're gonna have to we're gonna have to pass on this one. Like, I just don't I mean, I run with music and I have, like, one playlist that's, like,
Mhm.
over 300 songs in it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
So I guess it
But
would be just whatever comes up.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
there's not, like, one song that's, like, my mantra or anything like that, I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine with me. I mean, I have several playlists, and sometimes I run to one song that I'll finish to, and sometimes I just finish whatever is playing.
Yeah.
Now, my final 2 questions for you are what I ask everybody because I want to go back to what the essence of this podcast is about,
Mm.
and they are a little ambiguous, but I want you to answer as best as you can. The first one is, what is running giving you that you didn't expect when you first started?
What has running given me that I didn't expect? You know, I think when you're diagnosed with cancer, you become known as that person that has cancer. And it has allowed me to define myself in a different way. So I'm now that person that can run marathons that happens to also have cancer. And it really has given me this sense of purpose when it comes to giving back and doing something for bigger than myself.
Love that. I love that. And then my last question, and this is the ambiguous one. Why do you run?
I think because it's part of who I am. It wasn't part of who I was before, but it's part of who I am now. And it allows me to connect with people and help others in a way that I couldn't have imagined. So it's really given me a purpose. Yeah.
That is absolutely perfect. And I agree with you. It's once you run for this long and once you start chasing these dreams with your marathons, my wife jokes with me that somehow whenever I introduce myself to somebody new, I have to somehow bring up the fact that I run marathons. Somehow it has to happen.
Totally. I'm that person too, Mike.
Yeah. So I mean, she laughs at me all the time when that happens. But Anne, those are actually all of the questions that I have for you today. I don't know how to thank you enough for everything that you shared and what we talked about during this episode. You came here, you opened up, and you brought every part of yourself to this conversation, and you reminded every single person listening what it actually means to be alive, to thrive. Like that word is going to stay with people, and I know it's going to stay with me. You are running for something so much bigger than a finish line. You're running for your daughter Ruby. You're running for Dana-Farber, for every person who has been told something hard and decided to keep showing up anyway. That's very rare, but that is everything. If you do not follow Anne already, her Instagram name is AD Jory. So it's Apple David Jory. Check out her beautiful work at Flock Boston and Shop Crompton. And if you want to support the Dana-Farber Marathon Challenge and her run, links are in her bio. And also, feel free to sign up if you would like to be a charity run. And I keep running, keep creating, keep thriving. The whole running community is behind you. And I cannot thank you again so much for being on this episode.
Thank you, Mike. I really have enjoyed chatting with you and great to connect with somebody that's very like minded. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to. Folks, that is a wrap on this episode of At Your Own Pace. I really want to thank Anne again for being on the show. Her story of perseverance and resilience and finishing marathons and thriving with stage 4 breast cancer is something that I think so many of us can learn from and hopefully go out there and chase the dreams that we have. But if there's one thing that I hope you take with you today, it's this. There's no such thing as too slow, too late, or too far behind. This sport belongs to you exactly as you are, wherever you're starting from, at whatever pace you're running. Because every mile counts, and so do you. If this episode moved you, made you think, or made you want to lace up, please just do me a favor, share it with someone who needs to hear it, follow the show, leave a review, come find me on all social media platforms at Mike Runs Marathons, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, YouTube, Facebook, and I would love to hear your story. If you're interested in being a guest on the show, feel free to message me on Instagram or shoot me an email at mike@mikerunsmarathons.com, because every story of every runner is worth telling. Whether you have 1 follower or 1,000,000 followers, it does not matter. All of us have a very genuine, personal, individual story, and I want to share it with as many people as I possibly can. But until next time, take care of yourself, be kind to the person running next to you, and keep showing up at your own pace. I'll see you on the road. Bye.